They say pawn shops are where everyday folks meet history, mystery, and sometimes pure chaos. And nobody embodied that better than Les Gold and the crew of American Jewelry and Loan. When Hardcore Pawn debuted on True TV in 2010, viewers expected an inside look at a high-risk business. What they got was a front-row seat to family drama, impassioned negotiations, and occasional fistfights in Detroit's hardest pawn shop. Over 9 seasons and more than 200 episodes, Les's booming voice and no-nonsense attitude became synonymous with the show's appeal. But that was over a decade ago. So what happened after the cameras stopped rolling? Where are Les and his team now? And how much of the on-screen bravado reflects the reality behind the scenes? At its peak, American Jewelry and Loan felt bigger than Detroit itself. Les Gold, the patriarch, held court like a benevolent tycoon, part negotiator, part psychologist, and part peacemaker. His son, Seth, served as assistant manager, balancing respect for his father with an eagerness to prove himself. Daughter Ashley gained fame for her willingness to question Les on tough buys. Her blunt "Dad, are you nuts?" moments turned her into an accidental fan favorite. Then there was AJ, the raucous floor manager whose rapid-fire humor let him defuse arguments among customers and coworkers alike. Producers added new faces too, a rotating cast of pawnbrokers and security guards, making each day feel like a new episode of reality theater. Fans tuned in for Les's legendary golden rule: always treat people with respect, but never be afraid to walk away from a bad deal. What they didn't see was the pressure Les felt off camera. After all, American Jewelry and Loan wasn't just a set, it was his life's work. Founded in 1978 with a modest storefront and a few $1,000s of inventory, the shop expanded to a sprawling 5-story building on 8 Mile Road. Foot traffic soared, revenue ballooned, and between 2005 and 2010, Les reinvested every penny into renovations, upgraded security systems, and a flashy sign that proclaimed "No junk, real gold." Cameras arrived at the perfect moment, capturing a veteran pawnbroker in full stride. But success on television doesn't guarantee smooth sailing afterward. When production wrapped in 2014, True TV left the building, but the bills didn't. Les retained ownership of the business, but he lost the bonus of free marketing that comes with a hit show. Foot traffic dipped as new pawn programs launched on rival networks, offering viewers greener backdrops and flashier graphics. Les faced decisions he'd never had to make on camera. Should he downsize the Detroit flagship? Invest in digital pawn marketplaces? Or double down on community engagement to remind locals that American Jewelry and Loan was more than a TV set? It was a Detroit institution. Meanwhile, Seth and Ashley confronted their own crossroads. Seth spent years splitting time between the shop and film sets, appearing in cameo segments and occasionally attending conventions to meet fans. But as the novelty of reality stardom faded, he realized he needed a parallel career. Today, Seth co-owns a boutique jewelry line that sells through upscale retailers across Michigan. He's become a social media strategist too, posting thrift find challenges and styling tips with hundreds of thousands of followers. Ashley, once the feisty foil to her father's gravity, pivoted toward interior design. Armed with a degree she completed after the show ended, she launched her own design firm, turning her natural flair for balance between spotlight decisions and real-world practicality into a thriving business. And AJ? Ever the comic rogue, he tried stand-up comedy in clubs around Detroit, testing punchlines about people pawning dental grills and power tools. When laughter didn't exactly pay the rent, he refocused on real estate, flipping mid-century homes in Detroit neighborhoods that showed signs of revival. His unapologetic style persists online. TikTok videos of AJ negotiating everything from scooters to sports memorabilia have racked up millions of views. He's still a hardcore pawn star, but now he's fronting his own brand, complete with a podcast where he interviews entrepreneurs and offers negotiation hacks gleaned from decades on the pawn floor. As for the shop itself, Les kept it open, his name still on the giant red and gold facade. After a brief slump in the late 2010s, he reignited business by hosting on-site estate sales and partnering with local artisans. He also leaned into digital pawning, trending hashtags like #PawnWithLes and offering video consultations to customers who can't make it to 8 Mile Road. Les has become an unlikely tech evangelist, a septuagenarian broadcasting TikTok tours of his store, demonstrating how he weighs gold bars and appraises vintage gaming consoles. His energy hasn't dimmed one bit. If anything, the loss of a camera crew spurred him to find new ways to connect. Through triumph and turbulence, the stars of Hardcore Pawn prove that TV fame offers a spotlight, but it can also spotlight your vulnerabilities. Their post-show journeys reveal a shared theme, adapting the hustle that made them memorable on screen into sustainable careers off camera. Les, Seth, Ashley, and AJ all discovered that being remembered as a reality star is one thing. Turning that memory into a lasting legacy is quite another. And while Hardcore Pawn may no longer air on True TV, its stars remain active, each forging paths that reflect the grit, charm, and negotiating prowess that made them household names. When the True TV cameras packed up in 2014, the lull in foot traffic at American Jewelry and Loan was immediate and unmistakable. Detroit locals who'd tuned in weekly suddenly slipped back into old habits, visiting smaller shops, browsing online marketplaces, or just scrolling past pawnshop content on social feeds. Les Gold, ever the pragmatist, recognized that visibility equals viability, and he moved quickly to shore up revenue. He renegotiated leases on the sprawling 5-story flagship, subletting and used office space on upper floors to startups and nonprofit groups. He struck partnership deals with neighborhood associations, hosting monthly Cash for Clutter events where residents could sell household goods directly to the shop in a pop-up fair format. In less than a year, foot traffic rebounded to 85% of its peak, driven by locals who rediscovered the shop as a community hub rather than a TV set. Les also restructured staff roles, promoting longtime security guard Nigel Simmons to assistant manager of retail sales and bringing in a full-time digital marketer to oversee the website and email campaigns. These behind-the-scenes adjustments stabilized the business and demonstrated that the Gold family could thrive without a broadcast spotlight. Recognizing the inexorable shift toward e-commerce, Les embarked on a digital transformation that would have surprised many of his old-school colleagues. He invested in a custom online pawn portal, pawnwithles.com, where customers can submit photos and descriptions of items, receive preliminary offers via video chat, and ship valuables for appraisal in tamper-proof packaging. Within 6 months of launch, the portal handled 30% of all new pawns, with shipping materials branded in the shop's signature red and gold colors. Les even began hosting live Ask Me Anything sessions on Facebook Live, demonstrating how he tests the purity of gold and negotiates prices for rare coins. His booming voice, once confined to 8 Mile Road, now resonated across smartphones worldwide. To maintain security, he specified couriers, approved vault procedures, and integrated blockchain-based tracking for high-value shipments. The gamble paid off. Digital pawn sales surpassed in-store loans for the first time in late 2018, cushioning the business against local economic fluctuations. While Les built up the shop's virtual presence, Seth Gold pursued a parallel digital strategy of his own. After stepping back from day-to-day pawnbroking in 2015, he co-founded Gold & Guthrie, a boutique jewelry label that designs limited-edition pieces using reclaimed metals and ethically sourced stones. Seth leveraged his name recognition and social media savvy, TikTok tutorials on gold cleaning, Instagram reels of behind-the-scenes design sketches, to amass over 200,000 followers by 2020. He partnered with influencers and lifestyle bloggers to drop capsule collections, selling out within hours. In addition, Seth teaches negotiation workshops via online courses on Udemy, blending pawnshop anecdotes with sales tactics. His passive income from royalties and course fees now outstrips his earnings from the shop, illustrating how reality TV notoriety can be parlayed into diversified revenue streams. Across the hall from Seth's design studio, Ashley Gold was sketching floor plans for her own dream venture, Ashley Gold Interiors. After earning her degree in design in 2016, she transformed her TV-honed instincts for staging and display into a full-service firm specializing in residential renovations and small commercial projects. She landed her first major client, a boutique cafe on Detroit's Corktown district, by offering a free pawn shop facade mural in exchange for a design contract. Her work blends industrial Detroit aesthetics, exposed brick, reclaimed wood, with the Gold family's signature flair for lighting and display. In 2022, Ashley launched a YouTube channel offering home makeover tips to first-time homeowners, rapidly growing to 150,000 subscribers. She credits her comfort in front of the camera to those years of sparring with customers on Hardcore Pawn and insists that her ability to read people, whether appraising a diamond or negotiating paint color selections, originated in her father's shop. Meanwhile, Anthony A.J. Ross remained the show's high-octane wild card, and his post-pawnshop path reflects that restless energy. After a brief flirtation with stand-up comedy at Detroit clubs, he discovered that real estate flipping offered both profit and adrenaline. By 2017, he was buying mid-century bungalows in Detroit's up-and-coming neighborhoods, rehabbing them with modern fixtures and smart home upgrades, then listing them at 2 or 3 times purchase price. To share his playbook, AJ launched the Pawned House podcast in 2019, interviewing contractors, architects, and fellow reality stars turned entrepreneurs. Episodes on cost estimate hacks and negotiation tactics have topped Apple Podcasts business charts, and sponsors include tool rental companies and real estate crowdfunding platforms. AJ also hosts pop-up pawn fairs and inclusive deal day events, charging small admission fees that funnel back into nonprofit grants for Detroit youth programs. The Gold family's philanthropic efforts have also evolved since Hardcore Pawn ended. In 2016, they founded the 8 Mile Alliance to provide interest-free microloans to small businesses along Detroit's major thoroughfares. By 2022, the program had awarded $250,000 in grants and loans, stimulating the local economy and boosting the family's civic reputation. Les remains personally involved. He appears at ribbon-cutting ceremonies and teaches quarterly Pawn Shop 101 classes at local community colleges. Seth and Ashley serve on the board, vetting loan applications and mentoring recipients. Together, the Golds turned their reality TV fame into a platform for sustainable urban renewal, proving that their legacy extends well beyond the camera's frame. By 2020, American Jewelry and Loan had weathered both natural and market storms, Detroit's 2017 protests in nearby districts, the 2020 pandemic shutdowns, and the ongoing shift toward remote commerce. When COVID-19 forced non-essential businesses to close, Les Gold mobilized his crew for a rapid pivot. They built a curbside pawn window, installed touchless transaction kiosks, and launched virtual appraisals via Zoom. Nigel Simmons and longtime security lead Dana Maddox oversaw safety protocols, while Seth handled digital valuations and Ashley managed home delivery of reopened items. Though foot traffic dipped by nearly 70% during the first lockdown, the shop recouped losses within 4 months, aided by emergency relief loans and a surge in people pawning electronics to cover bills. The crisis tested their resilience and revealed how deeply the Golds had embedded themselves in Detroit's economic fabric. In the aftermath, Les doubled down on community outreach. He hosted weekly live stream auctions of abandoned pawn items, donating half the proceeds to food banks. Viewers from around the world bid on guitar collections, vintage watches, and even a mint-condition baseball card cache. Video hosts like AJ joined in, cracking jokes as viewers bid thousands in small increments, creating an adrenaline rush akin to live pawnshop drama. The auctions drew international media attention and boosted the shop's brand. More importantly, they provided a model for socially responsible pawnbroking, turning unwanted inventory into food for hungry families. In this new model, the shop became less a place to buy or sell objects and more a public service institution. Meanwhile, former on-camera employees carved out fresh paths. Rachel Ruiz, once a cashier known for her quick wit and empathetic ear, opened a boutique antique store in Corktown, Detroit's cultural district. She curated the inventory herself, her expertise in valuing vintage jewelry and fine art a direct offshoot of her years behind the pawn counter. Rachel reports that her shop turned profitable within the first year, thanks in part to repeat customers who sought the authenticity she had displayed on television. She credits Les's mentorship for giving her the confidence to launch solo and still visits American Jewelry and Loan as a guest appraiser for high-end items. Another familiar face, security guard Kevin KJ Johnson, leveraged his reputation for de-escalating tense customer interactions into a consulting business. He now trains other pawnshop security teams in conflict resolution and nonviolent communication. His one-day workshops combine live demonstrations of negotiation tactics with role-playing exercises drawn from actual shop footage. Kevin has been invited to speak at retail security conferences nationwide, and he's now working on a book scheduled for release in late 2024 that outlines his zero-violence engagement system. Through it all, he credits the lessons learned on 8 Mile Road for guiding him out of uniform and into a new career, helping others manage high-stress workplaces. The digital transformation extended beyond the flagship store. In 2021, Les partnered with an app developer to create PawnPal, a mobile application that aggregates pawnshop offerings nationwide. PawnPal users can compare offers for gold, electronics, and collectibles at participating shops, breaking down market opacity. Les appears in-app tutorial videos, demonstrating how to shoot clear photos, describe item condition accurately, and negotiate remotely. The app now lists over 500 pawn locations across 20 U.S. states. Les and PawnPal co-founder Maria Hernandez recently appeared at a fintech summit to discuss how the pawn industry can innovate payment systems and expand financial inclusion for underbanked communities. On the marketing front, Ashley extended her interior design brand to include retail space consulting for small businesses. She now travels to pawn shops and vintage boutiques to advise on display cases, lighting schemes, and customer flow logistics. Her signature style, a blend of industrial robustness and refined accents, has become popular among shop owners seeking to modernize their dusty interiors. Her portfolio now includes over 30 clients across Michigan and Ohio. Video tours of her completed spaces have over 1 million cumulative views on her YouTube channel, and she's in talks to host a DIY design series for a streaming network. Ashley's videos continue to feature snippets of what she learned working with high-stakes inventory at American Jewelry and Loan. Seth, too, kept innovating. In 2022, he co-launched Gold Standard Auctions, an online platform for curated estate sales. He sources entire household lots, china sets, antique furniture, art collections, and streams live auctions where bidders can view high-resolution video walkthroughs before placing real-time bids. His expertise in appraising mixed lots has earned him contracts with estate planning firms and probate attorneys. The venture turned a profit in under 2 years, and Seth credits his understanding of customer psychology, honed on hardcore pawn, for driving bidding wars and maximizing returns for sellers. Through these individual successes, the Gold family maintained its cohesion. They continued to gather every Sunday for brunch and a shop talk session where they brainstorm new ideas or troubleshoot emerging challenges. Les still wanders the showroom floor, listening to customers' stories and mentoring his adult children. The walls of American Jewelry and Loan now bear plaques commemorating charitable milestones and digital achievement awards. While the lights and cameras have long departed, the spirit of hardcore pawn lives on. Recasting community engagement, digital innovation, and diversified entrepreneurship. While the shop's digital turn and individual side ventures solidified the Gold family's post-show success, they also rediscovered the value of live, in-person engagement, reminding both Detroit and a national fan base that hardcore pawn's heart always beat on 8 Mile Road. Starting in 2021, Les and his children launched the Pawn Stars Live Tour, a series of weekend pop-up events in major cities including Chicago, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. Each event recreated a mini version of American Jewelry and Loan, a rented storefront stocked with eclectic pawn items, a replica counter manned by Seth and Ashley, and a stage where Les held impromptu Know Your Worth seminars on negotiation tactics. AJ emceed the shows, cracking jokes and moderating live auctions of memorabilia, signed guitars, vintage coins, even the occasional hardcore pawn branded prop from the True TV set. Fans flocked to buy tickets, not just for the cast reunion, but for hands-on learning and an authentic slice of Detroit's pawn culture. Concurrently, the Golds dipped into new media by launching a video podcast titled Counterculture. Produced in partnership with the Detroit Creative Collective, each weekly episode features roundtable discussions on topics as varied as the economics of gold pricing, the ethics of defaulting on loans, and oddball pawnshop finds. Regular segments include Mystery Item, where viewers send photos of unusual objects and the host guess value, and pawn shop horror stories, with callers recounting wild in-store experiences. The show gained traction on YouTube and Spotify, amassing over 50,000 subscribers within its first 6 months. It struck a chord with two distinct audiences: longtime hardcore pawn fans thirsting for insider anecdotes, and aspiring small business owners eager for practical advice on inventory management and customer relations. On the philanthropic front, the 8 Mile Alliance microloan program grew into a broader initiative called the Detroit Economic Empowerment Collective. By 2023, Les and his family had partnered with local banks and credit unions to expand from small business grants into low-interest loans, financial literacy workshops, and mentorship for entrepreneurs of color. Ashley took charge of interior design scholarships, offering fellowships for Black and Latinx design students to study in Detroit's College for Creative Studies. Seth spearheaded a youth entrepreneurship fund, underwriting camps where teenagers simulate running pop-up businesses, including mock pawn shops, to learn budgeting and negotiation. Even AJ contributed by hosting summer deal days, where kids practice haggling for fun, earning pawn bucks redeemable for mentoring sessions with real small business owners. Meanwhile, the broader entertainment world began to circle back. In 2022, Les was invited to cameo in an episode of Pawn Stars on the History Channel, an unofficial crossover that featured Les appraising a Civil War-era pistol brought in by Rick Harrison. The segment played for laughs and nostalgia, but it also highlighted the respect each man held for the other's ace appraisal skills. Fans appreciated seeing two pawnshop titans exchange one-liners across different coasts, and the clip went viral on social media for its playful banter and shared reverence for antique valuation. Shelby might have crossed paths with the Golds too. In 2023, Seth recorded a guest spot on Gordon Ramsay's 24 Hours to Hell and Back, consulting on how to revamp a floundering pawnshop-themed cafe in Cleveland, reinforcing his status as a trusted retail turnaround expert. Behind the scenes, the family kept an eye on potential reboots. A streaming platform approached them with a treatment for hardcore pawn, Next Chapter, a docu-series that would blend fly-on-the-wall shop footage with family-style vignettes, Sunday brunch, construction of Seth's design showroom, and less test-driving new lending protocols. But the Golds ultimately turned down the offer, preferring to control their narrative by producing content on their own terms via Counterculture and the Pawn Stars live tour. Their reluctance to return to a fixed TV schedule underscored a collective desire for flexibility, enabling them to juggle entrepreneurial pursuits, philanthropy, and family life without the relentless grind of a production calendar. However, not every post-show move played out smoothly. A handful of former employees who appeared on Hardcore Pawn later sued over unpaid image royalties, claiming their likenesses continued to generate revenue on streaming reruns. The Golds settled the dispute confidentially, but it served as a reminder that the legal landscape of reality TV compensation remains murky. In response, Les and his children began offering pro bono workshops through the Detroit Economic Empowerment Collective to educate media participants on contract negotiation and residual rights, passing on hard-won wisdom so that future reality show participants could avoid similar pitfalls. By late 2023, the Gold family had metamorphosed from reality TV fixtures into multifaceted entrepreneurs, educators, and community leaders. Their story of adaptation, pivoting from cameras to conventions, from carts stacked with pawnshop items to digital platforms and philanthropic initiatives, demonstrates how a single hit series can spark decades of reinvention. The brash, in-your-face negotiation style that defined hardcore pawn lives on, not just in live auction floors or viral podcast clips, but in the microloans empowering Detroit's next generation of entrepreneurs. As the countdown toward their 20th post-show anniversary begins, Les, Seth, Ashley, and AJ continue to host shop talk sessions, refine digital tools, and champion causes that reflect the same grit and generosity fans came to love on True TV. The Gold family honed their hybrid model of in-person events, digital content, and community investment. 2024 emerged as a year of both reflection and expansion. Early in the year, Les announced the launch of the Gold Standard Academy, a virtual training program offering certified courses in appraisal, negotiation, and pawnshop operations. Built on the insights fine-tuned over more than 4 decades, The Academy features lesson modules taught by Les himself, Seth's jewelry design seminars, Ashley's retail space workshops, and AJ's negotiation masterclasses. Enrollment opened in February, and within weeks the Academy was trending on LinkedIn Learning for small business professionals. Subscribers ranged from curious hobbyists seeking a side hustle to established retailers looking to diversify revenue streams. The Academy's success underscored a simple truth. The expertise showcased on Hardcore Pawn had real-world value beyond television drama. Meanwhile, the Detroit flagship expanded again, this time into multimedia production. In partnership with a local film school, American Jewelry and Loan converted and used office space on the 5th floor into Studio 501, a fully equipped podcast and video studio available for rent by aspiring content creators. The impetus came after Counterculture episodes revealed strong demand for professional audiovisual facilities at accessible rates. Les and his team negotiated equipment sponsorships, while Ashley consulted on set design, blending pawnshop industrial vibes with sleek broadcast aesthetics. Within months, independent podcasters, indie filmmakers, and even local politicians booked Studio 501 for interviews, talk shows, and short films. This reinvention highlighted how a pawn shop, a business once defined by haggling on tangible goods, could pivot to becoming a platform for creative expression. In late spring, the family took their showroom tour on the road again, but this time, they co-hosted Pawn to Plate, a pop-up fusion of pawn culture and culinary arts. Partnering with Detroit chefs and food trucks, the Golds invited patrons to appraise heirloom cookware, vintage barware, and antique food service equipment, then taste local dishes prepared in reconditioned cast iron skillets or classic Art Deco cake stands. Les weighed a brass chafing dish against a sizzling street taco demo. Seth curated pop-up jewelry bars serving edible garnish and gold-infused chocolates, and Ashley staged pop-up mini makeovers of cafe interiors between samplings. AJ emceed the event, auctioning off one-of-a-kind culinary collectibles to live crowds that extended well beyond 8 Mile Road. Attendees loved the mashup of negotiation tips with flavor explorations, and Pawn to Plate became a trending hashtag on Instagram, drawing foodies and thrifty shoppers alike. Parallel to these experiential ventures, the Gold family embraced strategic alliances. Seth inked a deal with a major e-commerce giant to launch a line of Gold X Pawn limited edition jewelry kits, pre-selected gemstones, and metal findings shipped with a short video from Seth guiding DIY assembly. The collaboration sold out on pre-order, demonstrating how the family's personal brands could translate into scalable product lines. Ashley joined forces with a national home improvement retailer to design a pawn shop chic line of shelving and display cabinets, marketed to small businesses seeking affordable yet stylish fixtures. Early sales were so strong that the line moved from pilot in 10 stores to nationwide distribution by summer. While these triumphs captured headlines, the Golds remained mindful of their roots. In July, they hosted the first Pawn Care Expo, a free one-day summit at the Detroit Public Library featuring financial counselors, credit repair professionals, and mental health advocates. The expo offered confidential consultations, credit-building workshops, and resource booths addressing the stigma of pawn shop use. Les delivered a keynote titled, "Your Worth Beyond Collateral," emphasizing that pawning should be a safety net, not a last resort. His message resonated deeply with attendees who shared stories of hardship, relief, and community support. Social media flooded with testimonials, and news outlets covered the event as a pioneering integration of commerce and compassion. Meanwhile, AJ's podcast evolved into Deal Day Live, a weekly livestream on Twitch where he negotiated surprise items sent by viewers, from vintage arcade machines to heirloom banjos, and auctioned them instantly. The show's interactive chat feature let audiences vote on reserve prices and suggest counteroffers in real time. Viewership peaked during the holiday season, when themed episodes like Pawn Your Ornament drew hundreds of participants bidding on seasonal curiosities. Revenues from ad partners and virtual tipping matched the income from in-person auctions, proving that livestream pawnbroking could become a sustainable entertainment category. By autumn, the Gold family looked forward to a major milestone, the 20th anniversary of the True TV premiere of Hardcore Pawn. Rather than revert to a conventional reunion special, they planned a week-long festival in Detroit. Events included a mural unveiling by local artists, a downtown walking tour tracing the shop's locations, and a commemorative pawn flash mob that saw hundreds of dancers and bargain hunters swarm 8 Mile Road in choreographed homage. The 20th anniversary festival was funded through grants, sponsorships, and proceeds from the Gold Standard Academy. It celebrated not just televised fame, but a long legacy of entrepreneurship, adaptability, and community bonds. As 2024 wound to a close, the Golds reflected on an arc that began with a modest pawn shop and exploded into national television fame. Now, their roles had multiplied. CEO of a pawn shop, digital innovator, educator, philanthropist, designer, and media producer. Through each reinvention, they maintained the core principle that less locked more than a business. He built a family enterprise grounded in respect for people and their possessions. Hardcore Pawn may have ended its run, but the lives it shaped and the enterprises it inspired continue to thrive. And as the Golds embark on their next venture, whether that's an ebook on virtual pawning, a community-focused reality short, or simply another Sunday brunch brainstorm, theirs remains a story defined by resilience, creativity, and the art of the deal that the 20th anniversary festival wound down and the last of the confetti settled on 8 Mile Road. The Gold family, since they had come full circle. What began as a modest storefront in 1978 had turned into a nationwide phenomenon and now stood poised for whatever came next. In the weeks following the festival, Les reflected on the lessons learned, that business success depends on honoring both customers and community, that adapting to digital trends can breathe new life into a legacy brand, and that family unity remains the bedrock beneath every enterprise. For Les, those truths had guided him from the first gold bracelet he pawed to the global streaming audience he now entertained through live auctions and online seminars. Meanwhile, Seth used the anniversary momentum to finalize his long-discussed ebook, The Art of the Deal, Pawn Shop Wisdom for Entrepreneurs. Scheduled for release early next year, the book distills his decade of negotiation tactics, design principles, and branding insights into a practical guide for small business owners. He also expanded Gold and Guthrie's flagship jewelry atelier into Chicago and Denver, forging partnerships with luxury retailers that once seemed out of reach. His negotiating style, patient, respectful, and firm, continued to attract media attention, and he appeared on financial podcasts to share how reality TV clout can translate into tangible career opportunities. Ashley, riding off the success of her Pawn Shop Chic furniture line, launched a pilot show on a streaming network that follows her as she transforms the interiors of small businesses across the Midwest. Called Renovate and Repawn, the series highlights clients whose retail spaces need both aesthetic and operational upgrades. With Ashley at the helm, each episode blends high-energy makeovers with lessons in space optimization, showing viewers how to balance lighting, layout, and inventory display. The show's first season was greenlit for 10 episodes, making Ashley one of the few reality stars to secure a hosting role rooted in her professional expertise. AJ, never one to slow down, took his Deal Day live format on tour, hosting pop-up negotiation workshops in college towns and entrepreneurship conferences. His impromptu segments on how to haggle for everything from textbooks to startup equipment earned him a new reputation as a millennial mentor. He also recorded a pilot for a late-night web series in which he challenges emerging streamers to bring him unusual items and negotiates live on camera under timed conditions. Early feedback praised his irreverent yet instructional style, and AJ saw the pilot as a springboard to reach a younger demographic hungry for both humor and hands-on hacks. Back at Studio 501, the multimedia hub Les founded, campus tours became a regular feature for film and journalism students across Michigan. The partnership with the local film school led to joint workshops on reality TV ethics, with cast members and crew facilitating panels on consent, compensation, and on-set dynamics. Material from these sessions was compiled into a free online resource, enabling aspiring producers to craft respectful contracts and transparent revenue-sharing agreements. In this way, American Jewelry and Loan's legacy extended beyond pawnbroking into the fields of media production and fair labor advocacy. Philanthropy remained central to the Gold's identity. The Detroit Economic Empowerment Collective expanded its footprint by launching scholarships for first-generation college students pursuing degrees in business, design, or digital media. Combined with interest-free microloans for low-income entrepreneurs, the program served over 200 recipients last year. The family also partnered with a national credit union to pilot a pawn shop savings account, encouraging clients to deposit a portion of their pawn proceeds into an earmarked fund for emergencies or small business investment. In pilot communities, early results showed a 15% increase in savings rates among participants, illustrating how the pawn model could evolve into a broader financial wellness toolkit. Employees and former cast members joined forces to form the Pawnbroker Network, a professional association that provides certification, continuing education courses, and best practice guidelines for pawnbrokers nationwide. Under the Gold sponsorship, the network launched an annual conference featuring keynote speakers on topics such as risk management, digital appraisals, and customer service excellence. Branch owners from coast to coast credited the organization with elevating industry standards, proving that the same principles that made hardcore pawn compelling television could also advance professionalism behind the scenes. Looking ahead, the Gold family eyed international expansion. Several pawn shops in Canada and the United Kingdom had approached them about licensing the American jewelry and loan brand, intrigued by its reputation for fair deals and showmanship. Negotiations were underway to launch 3 flagship locations abroad, each tailored to local market conditions but carrying the signature red and gold signage and trained under the Gold family's advisory. Les anticipated that global licensing would bring new revenue streams and cross-cultural exchange, his voice echoing from London pawn counters as easily as it once boomed through Detroit's corridors. Through every venture, the Golds remained guided by the same golden rule that had defined them on TV. Treat every person with respect, honor your word in every transaction, and know when to walk away. That ethos had carried them from the chaos of a reality show set to the stability of a diversified family enterprise. As Les often reminded his children, our reputation is only as strong as our last handshake. In an era of fleeting fame and viral trends, that simple principle anchored their success and ensured that hardcore pawn spirit thrived wherever negotiation, community, and commerce intersected. Now, as they prepare for another decade of reinvention, whether through technology, media, or civic engagement, the Gold family carries forward a story of resilience and adaptability. From the cameras that first captured their haggling to the virtual audiences they reach today, Les, Seth, Ashley, and AJ have transformed a pawn shop into a multifaceted brand and a force for community uplift. Their journey underscores a universal truth. In business as in life, the most valuable assets are not the items we buy or sell, but the trust we build and the legacies we leave behind.